do need to talk about these stories, so let's jump
There you go.
right in.
Get
So
in there, bro.
Kanye West agrees to buy right-wing platform Parler from the BBC. Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, has agreed to buy the self-styled uncancelable social media platform Parler, the company has announced. Last week, the star's Twitter and Instagram accounts were locked after he posted anti-Semitic messages. Parler is used mainly by United States conservative and describes itself as a free speech alternative to mainstream platforms. It generally is. Ye will never have to fear being removed from social media again, Chief Executive George Farmer posted. And George Farmer, I don't know if you know this, George Farmer is Candace Owens' husband. So the current Chief Executive...
Candace Owens.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, under the terms of their agreement, the parties intend to enter into a definitive purchase agreement and expect to close during the fourth quarter of 2022. So, Parler has struggled to remain relevant in recent months after an explosion in growth after the United States election in 2020. Yes, that's true.
Which was tragic.
Which was tragic. We had 37,000 followers on Parler. We still have 18,000, but it basically has no interaction. And I really only post on post my Twitch links there.
On Twitch.
But I never get any reactions from it. So
the
18,000 followers means absolute jack.
Yeah, the only thing to say about Parler, as in it's a tragic story because it was growing. It was pretty much on pace to become a complete, so basically
totally overwhelmed, Twitter.
Replacing Twitter. It was getting lots of traction. Everyone was on it, and then it was basically hit by the social media mafia.
And then it was removed from Amazon Web Services, and once that happened, it died. And as soon as they knew that they could be basically removed in an instant, everybody's like, I guess we don't have Parler anymore. So might as well move on.
Well, and it was like one of the most blatant and obvious hit jobs ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was so obvious. Nobody even defended the idea of what they did. It's like, no, it was obvious what they're doing.
It was obvious.
I think it was a demoralizing moment. So it was tragic. So I don't know. What do you think about this one? Do you think that this will make some positive changes?
I
think it can bring Parler back.
I don't think it can bring Parler back fully. I think there is a chance of bringing back some attention and some controversy. Which not all controversy is bad. Mm-hmm. Controversy will bring attention, and Kanye West is a decent businessman.
Yeah, but he's also always says funding.
Yes, he is going to bring in more funding.
Yeah.
Because he is exceptionally wealthy.
Yeah.
So I think that's anything at this point for Parler is a positive.
Well, from what I heard, I think you told me this too, is that Parler's functionality really went down.
Oh, yeah.
After the whole debacle.
Yeah.
So I think it's twofold. I think one, obviously it was down for so long because of the whole fiasco. And what was it like? Did you ever see the Facebook movie, The Social Network?
No.
Okay, well, anyways, in The Social Network, there was a big fight between Mark Zuckerberg and his his closest friend because there was a dispute that might have actually made the site go dead for a certain amount of time. It would have been offline for a few hours or maybe even longer. Right? And Mark Zuckerberg basically said, if the whole point of the site is that people have to be connected at all times. If it goes down, it dies. It literally dies entirely. And I was like, that sounds very similar to what Parler would happen. They took it down for so long that any momentum it had died. And when it came back, it was not functional.
Yeah.
And so I think those two things killed it. Now, I think if you can make the site functionally functional, where it works well, then you might be able to
actually have an app for it again.
And actually have an app for it.
Because there's only an app on iPhone. There isn't an app there still is not an app on Google. In order to access it from my phone, I have to go on a browser.
Yeah.
And log in that way. And it's just not worth my time to access it on my phone because it's not practical.
Yeah, exactly. It's not functional. So I think like what's his name? Elon Musk wants to do with Twitter. If you could like he wants to make Twitter more functional and more basically make it work so that people are not self-censoring as much, right?
Mm-hmm. Elon
No.
Musk commented on him buying Parler,
What do you say?
and he was like, "Welcome to the party."
Welcome
And
to the
then
party, pal.
unfortunately, he did dial it back
Because
because
his competitor.
no, he dialed it back because he got a lot of hate for it,
Of course he was.
and then he deleted the tweet. And I'm like, "No, Elon,
That
come
was a good
on."
tweet. Though he's done worse tweets than that.
Oh yeah.
Tweets that are much more. That's not
Well,
even
I think
controversial.
that okay. Talking about Elon Musk for 1 second,
Sure.
Elon Musk and what he done on Friday, I was like,
Did
did you hear about like the whole Starlink thing?
What did he do? I actually might have missed it.
Okay, so he was talking to some Ukrainian officials, and he's like,
Okay.
"Guys, like this warmongering is nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, please strive and seek for a peaceful resolution to this conflict."
Mm-hmm.
An Ukrainian official responded to him
Uh-huh.
with the literal phrase, I think it was like, "Go F yourself." And he's like,
That's not very nice.
and he's
Not
like,
very nice at all.
well, no, it was F off. Sorry, it was F off.
Oh, that's so much
And
better.
so he's like, well, in following in your instructions to F off, I am removing Starlink service from Ukraine. And I'm like,
seriously?
yeah. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh my gosh, he just royally screwed Ukraine.
Wow.
But I'm like,
that's
dang, you guys deserved it.
Yep.
I got into a couple arguments because everybody's just like, how could you not support Ukraine? I'm like, Ukraine is a bunch of warmongering sociopaths.
And they have legitimate Nazi.
Yes, they do.
Like
The Azov
units, I
battalion.
think. Yeah, Nazi supporting units. Like you talk about like being anti-fascist. Like where are you on this? Like leftists. Gosh.
Yep.
So yeah, like Kanye's interesting. He's like people call him crazy. He's not crazy. He's eccentric, but he's like a smart guy. He didn't get to where he's at. He didn't get to success by being completely crazy. He's obviously a bit of a diva, but that's what makes him interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's gonna make a big splash with Parler.
And he already he made a big. He's probably gonna make a big splash with Parler, and he already made a big splash about talking about George Floyd.
What did he say?
So first on two from Click to Houston, mother of George Floyd's daughter files $250 million lawsuit against Kanye West for comments on his death.
Now, quick question: do you think that this is anywhere related to what happened to Alex Jones?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like they set the precedent, right?
Yeah, they set the precedent, and they're like, they can get $1 billion. It's like he talked about the glorious saint George Floyd.
How dare he?
Yeah.
So Mr. Lightning to the face.
Mm-hmm. Still fantastically glorious. In a news release from Witherspoon Law Group and Dixon attorneys at law, Floyd's family issued a cease and desist letter to West, also known as Yee, for his comments about the 2020 death of the man. I'm not going to say it was at the hands of the Minneapolis police because it's not true.
The basic, just the real clarification for anybody, because Stephen even talked about how he clarified for a guy at his work about that, is that George Floyd, one thing that very few people seem to be aware of these days, is that he had an enormous amount of fentanyl in his system, and far more than needed to kill a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very, very, very high chance, and this was on the trial.
Yeah, very
high chance that he absolutely died because of his drug overdose, not necessarily because of the
this article. This article is saying that during his testimony that his heart disease and use of fentanyl were contributing factors to his death. They were not the direct cause, except when they actually asked him, they're like, okay, if you had walked onto this site and seen his death without knowing
what happened,
pressing his knee, what would you take it for? And he's like, an overdose, no question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you're kind of like this website and many others are obscuring that evidence. And there were two different medical examiners, autopsies, and one claimed that it was due to the pressing his knee down. And it's still saying it's pressing his neck pressing his knee down on his neck. But
for 9.5 minutes.
Yeah, for 9.5 minutes.
But
totally.
Steven Crowder completely debunked, or at least basically addressed that in one video where he himself was on the ground and he had somebody put that maneuver on him, and he basically said like, yeah, he's fine. He could have gone for like 20 minutes. He could have gone for like longer.
Yeah.
Because the idea of the it's basically nothing more than a way of holding somebody down in a safe and effective way. But obviously, with somebody who has a like a fentanyl thing like he had, and the panic and the system going nuts and all the adrenaline going through him, that it's like basically like saying you get somebody agitated who's already on tons of drugs that they basically have a heart attack. I'm like, well, was it really the agitation, like the fight, or the physical, the verbal altercation that killed him? Or was it the amount of drugs in them that was exacerbated by the amount of things? Anyways, long story short, there's a lot of the idea that George Floyd was murdered is very disputable.
Yeah,
that's the key takeaway.
Mm-hmm. And of course, it's really sad. Like that was one of our most popular videos. Was the episode where I covered the trial and the verdict, and I remember the title: "Justice has been killed this night."
Yep.
Anyways, so the news release that discusses the lawsuit filed by Roxy Washington, the mother of Gianna Floyd.
Lawyer said West name Roxy.
Yes.
Sounds like a go-go girl. Anyways, go on.
Yeah.
Roxy.
Considering the frivolous nature of this lawsuit, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So she said that West made false statements about George Floyd's death to promote his brands, increase marketing value and revenue for himself and his business partners and associates. No, he was really just saying that because it's true.
Mm-hmm.
The release also says that West stated malicious falsehoods about Floyd in order to profit from his death and his family's trauma.
What are these malicious falsehoods, Stephen? Did they say?
Well, they say earlier that he talks. Basically, the malicious falsehood is saying he died as a result of fentanyl use.
Which he did. It's not exactly a difficult case to make.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is not a malicious falsehood. This is the truth, and you guys are just mad because anybody who critiques the glorious Saint George Floyd, whose statue, whose of course mural was hit by lightning, praise be to God. You can't critique the guy. The guy was a drug addict. He was a criminal. And there was no evidence that he was trying to reform himself. He was a danger to society.
He was the guy who held down a pregnant woman at gunpoint.
He robbed her while holding a gun to her stomach.
Yep.
Like,
really, truly, yeah. But basically, this guy can't be questioned because that's what the left does. They create these.
He's the glorious saint.
They create these sacred cows. Like you may not, they're off limits. However, a good example of how completely backwards is this, and like how the left has two different standards. They're always double standards. Is that George Floyd cannot be questioned, and you can't even suggest that he died of fentanyl because what do they hold that on? The trial. They concluded, well, he's guilty of leading to his death and all that, and they say the jury decided that he's guilty, so hence you can't question it.
And it's are you aware of the pressuring that there was to that jury?
Yeah,
and then there was significant jury tampering.
Hold on. Let me just finish the point though.
Okay, go for
it. The Kyle Rittenhouse trial, it was very clear that Kyle Rittenhouse was completely defending himself, and people still deny that until they it's obvious he totally murdered them in cold blood. He's like a bloody killer. So, two great examples. People can say all sorts of lies. And actually, Kyle Rittenhouse, I think, is suing people because they're still saying lies, even after the jury had cleared him of all wrongs. He's suing them because of they're saying things that are clearly untrue, and yet you cannot say the same things about George Floyd. Now, with the Alex Jones trial, you can clearly make a case he did actually say lies.
These things.
Long story, but basically, for a while he thought it was legitimately a hoax, and then he took those comments
recanted, back. And he only mentioned one family or one person.
Yeah,
but this of course, this trial, this defamation lawsuit, it names a whole bunch of families, basically most of the families involved, and even though he never mentioned any of them by name, kind of just mentioned they're like, "Yep, his statements put them at grave bodily risk," and it's like, what? No, he didn't.
Yeah, and to be fair, like in that case, it's a free speech issue.
Yeah,
but they're railroading him because they want to create this kind of president that you can do this to Kanye, just like they did Dallas. They even said so. They said like, yeah, our goal isn't to get money. Our goal is to silence these people forever using like the legal means
to make
to
sure
do
that
it.
They have no discourse.
Right. But Alex Jones, I think obviously you can make a case like, okay, people's feelings were hurt, you could sue him, but not to the tune of $1 billion. That's so obviously a show trial. But it worked because Kanye West is being sued for something just saying something that can be verifiably true. But this is the state. So just know this is not happening in a vacuum. Kanye West is being sued because this is the new method and tactic they're using in order to take down their political enemies. Go on, Stephen.
Extending to silence.